Hello, beautiful people. This is Dr. Dain here to talk to you about what would a miraculous life and living actually be like. Like, how would it show up? How do we get there? What would it actually show up as? Well, it's funny. I always look up when I talk about this. It's like, there's this universe out here and this beautiful planet down here. And here we are being able to be in the presence of both. And we often don't recognize the gift. From my point of view, the beginning of having a miraculous life is to begin to acknowledge the smallest miracles and the smallest gifts. Because you've heard that idea of what you focus on, you get more of, and what you resist persists, that also. But when you actually start to recognize that there are so many miracles you create on a daily basis, and most of them go unacknowledged. You know, some of the people, you know, when I started doing metaphysical stuff, they'd be like, well, I'm miraculous because I asked for a parking spot and it shows up. I'm like, hey, that's awesome. And so many things that we have as the tiny miracles of life. Like, for example, a bird just flew down and it was so beautiful. And I was like, wow. And we have some red birds here. I don't know if they're cardinals or what, but every time I see one, I'm like, wow. We've got some flowers over there that are just like, hello. And I'm like, hi. So the beginning of accessing miracles in our lives is actually to start to acknowledge the small miracles. What is a miracle? Anything that lights you up like this, okay? That's one aspect. There's so many aspects, and we don't often talk about this, but I wanted to because, well, I have a class coming up, that's one, but I wanted to because I realized that so many people, especially now, in this world, feel like the miraculousness of what they had is slipping from their fingers. What if it's not? What if we together have the capacity and the possibility of gaining back that miraculousness, but living from and as that? And you go, what? How do we do that? Well, let me tell you, it's not at all like the way you thought it was. And it starts with recognizing the small things that are miraculous to you. The small, beautiful things, the small, beautiful people. Maybe they're not small people. Maybe they're big people. Who knows? That show up in your life that are gifts. You want to start to acknowledge the gifts of your life. So I'm going to give you a couple tools as we go along, a little bit of home play, if you will. First one is to acknowledge the small things that are a gift to you. So for example, it's like you might be, you know, really tired and you're waking up and somebody in your house brings you coffee. They're like, I just thought you could use one. What an amazing gift. Maybe you're at work and you're really stressed out and somebody's like, hey, let's just go take a walk outside for a minute. Let's put our toes in the grass. I mean, just that. The idea of, and if you don't have a chance to do it right now, maybe you live someplace cold, do some version of this, of going outside without your shoes on and putting your feetsies in the grass. Just that. And make a connection with this beautiful planet because it's their gifting to us all the time. So there's the one aspect of acknowledging the small miracles. So one of the things I'd like you to do is look back. I don't know if you heard the birds, but for me, that's a miracle. It's like, and people can look at that and go, well, you're just trying to say it's special when it's not. It's like, well, yeah, but if my point of view is it's special and I receive it and it lightens me up because the bird is singing, or I've got two little kids staying in my house and one is 3 and one is 7, and they are running around, they are laughing, they're yelling, they're screaming, they're being boys who are allowed to be them. And it's miraculous. It energizes me. Now, a lot of people wouldn't see that as a gift, but I do, so it shows up that way because your point of view creates your reality. Reality does not create your point of view. So it shows up for me that way, and I get enlivened, whereas other adults might be like, shut up, you little kid, stop making so much noise. And for me, I'm like, oh my God, I love it. And their mom comes to me at least, I don't know, once a day on every trip where they're here. She's like, I'm sorry they make so much noise. I'm like, don't worry about it. If they make too much noise, I sleep with earplugs because they wake up early in the morning. I wake up early in the morning now too. Why? Because I've got noisy kids in my house that are so joyful, I don't want to sleep. But I see it as a gift. So what are the small miracles that you haven't been acknowledging? I'd like you to write down a gratitude/miracle journal. Because here's the thing. Check this out. Okay, I'm just going to give this some build-up. Dun, da, da. Maybe that was too much buildup. I don't know. Anything you are grateful for that shows up in your life is miraculous. It becomes a miracle for you. You're like, what? I didn't think about that. I know, I didn't either. I've never put it in those words before. So thank you for that miracle. This miraculous awareness that I can now share with other people. Anything you're grateful for in your life that shows up creates a miraculous energy in your life. So, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to write down, and maybe you have it on your phone, or maybe you're old-fashioned, you actually write on paper, which is really cool. I used to do that. And write down things that you're grateful for, but also the small miracles of life. Like, wow, I followed my GPS. I have Waze, and so I got out of traffic and I saved 20 minutes. Or I knew not to go to the store and there was this huge long line there, and like the small things. Why? Because the more you recognize and acknowledge those, the more of those you get. And they actually grow into bigger things, because you then again become like a little kid and you start believing in miracles again. Remember what it was like and many of you may not, but for those of you that do, remember what it was like to be a little kid and believe in miracles? Remember when you believed in all of those mythical creatures, including the ones that bring you presents and chocolate eggs? Remember when you had that? And then at some point you're told, well, that wasn't real, and that wasn't real, and that wasn't real. You're like, fuck, we live in a world without miracles. No, we actually live in a world with miracles that are way beyond that, but most of us aren't noticing. Most of us have become adults. Most of us have gotten old, and so we don't believe in that airy-fairy shit anymore. But in so doing, we've given up the magic of our lives. How do we get the magic back? Well, first place is to actually start acknowledging all the tiny miracles that show up for you, and to start having gratitude for the tiny miraculous things. Like, I look around my yard that has so many plants, and as you can see behind me, so many trees. Ooh, see that was a miracle. You see how it lightened up so you could see the trees? Miracle. And you're like, that wasn't a miracle, Dr. Dain. That was actually the camera. I'm like, yeah, doing a miracle so you could see what I was talking about. How does it get any better than that? Now, here's the deal. A miracle is a choice you have in every moment if you choose. Like, wait a minute. Okay, so check this out. I got out of the way so the camera could show you that. It changed all of its settings instantaneously, almost, so that you could see what I was talking about. But for me, I'm like, thank you, camera. That was friggin' miraculous what you can do. If I were filming this 20 years ago, that wouldn't have happened, probably. So it's kind of this way, not kind of, it's this way of being in the world where you're grateful for everything that shows up, and grateful for the fact that you were there to experience it, and grateful for that interaction. Gratitude is the beginning of miracles, my beautiful friends. And some of you are like, yeah, but I'm not very grateful. I know. I'm aware of this. We live on a planet of 8 billion people that aren't grateful. No surprise that you might be one of them. But what if you're not wrong for that? What if you just haven't had that nurtured in you? What if, as a result of growing up with who you grew up with and what you grew up with and what you had to experience, that it looked like there was nothing to be grateful for? I had that also. But then I started choosing to be grateful for the small things. And the gratitude started being an energy that was present in my life rather than devoid, or rather than being a void, rather than me avoiding, rather than it not being there. Okay? And it started being something that was present. And the interesting part was when I started writing down the little miracles and the little things I could be grateful for, and I started then looking for more things to be grateful for. Why? Well, for all kinds of reasons. Number one, it made me feel good, but number two, I was doing a good job of my job of looking for miracles and gratitude, and so of course I wanted to do more of it. And then I started seeing big things that I could be grateful for, and the weird part about this whole thing is it's all energetic. When you have gratitude and when you look for miracles, you have this energy of being open to receiving that the universe wants to gift to. And that the universe, like literally this universe, okay? Even Einstein said every molecule has consciousness. We live in a conscious universe where every molecule is aware of what everything else, every other molecule is aware of, without a mind, by the way. Our mind limits that. But I started realizing we live in a miraculous world where our request creates. That's the other element of miracles, is that your request and your choice actually creates. But if you don't believe in miracles, if you don't cultivate that gratitude that leads to the awareness of what is, okay? Because your point of view creates your reality. Reality does not create your point of view. So when you have an awareness of what is and an awareness that miracles are possible, what do? You create more of that. Well, when you function from that, the world starts to become a totally different place that has got way more joy and way more ease of receiving in it. So what you do is you change some of your fundamental points of view by focusing on the miracles that occur and the small stuff that occurs. And so you become this space that sort of starts actually acknowledging it, but then you get to this place where without a fixed point of view, you start to actually expect more miracles than not. And guess what happens when you do that? They show up. So this whole thing is transforming us energetically to the place where we're willing to receive the small things that lead to more small things and more small things, and then also many, many large things that can show up as if by magic. What you do in this is you start to tap yourself into the way the universe actually works, not the way our minds tell us it works, because a miracle, if we look at it, if we want to give it a definition, it's something that occurs as if by magic. Well, guess what could occur as if by magic? Ask and you shall receive. When you ask for something, have you ever, I'd like you to write down 3 things that have shown up for you as if by magic. Okay? I'm waiting. Get on, write them down, open up the note on your phone, write them down. 3 things. Okay, you don't have to write it down. But 3 things that have shown up for you as if by magic. That is your miraculous capacity to ask and receive. One of the greatest gifts you have is the ability to ask and receive. It personally is how I have changed my life from depressed and suicidal and not having a sense of possibilities to actually living and being walking, talking, breathing possibilities. Now, I can understand if you're in any similar place to where I was 20 plus years ago, that you'd look at that and go, yeah, you can have it because you're special. Actually, I have it because I've chosen it over and over and over and over. But if you recognize that tapping into the miraculousness that this universe offers is actually a key to having things change without you having to control the change, and opening up and letting the universe gift to you, totally different possibilities start to exist. This is the invitation I have for you. So, we talked about the small miracles and gratitude. Gratitude and miraculousness go together. And then the next part being the willingness to ask for things and not try to control them showing up. So the next thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to write down 11 things. Why 11? Because it's so significant. I'm sure it will work. It's just entertaining to me. Okay, start with 11. You can go hundreds if you want to. Things that you would like to change in your life that you would ask to change. Or things that you would like to have. Things you'd like to create. Things you'd like to have show up. But don't be vested in them showing up. I want you to write them all down on a list on an actual piece of paper if you can find one in your house, if that exists in your house anymore, or on an envelope, or I don't know, somewhere. Write them down, fold it up, put it in a drawer, and say, hey, universe, I'm asking for this. Please, have all of this show up for me, please. You know what? I'm going to go do this right after I make this video. I'm going to go do this for myself because I haven't done this for a while, but every time I've done it in the past, I write down, I'd like this, I'd like this, I'd like this to change, I'd like this to change, I'd like this to be different, and I had no idea how it would show up, and I go, universe, consciousness, please help. I'm willing to have anything change, I'm willing to lose anything, I'm willing to lose anyone, I'm willing to gain anything, I'm willing to gain anyone, I'm willing to have my life show up however it has to, but I would like all this stuff to be in it. And I pull that list out 18 months later. For some reason, it always seems to be 18 months, which is kind of bizarre. 12 to 18 months, but usually 18. I pull it out 18 months later, I'm like, holy shit. And I look at my life, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I asked for that. See, the thing is, most of us are not asking for nearly enough. And most of us think if we ask for too much, we're wrong. And most of us think that if we ask for it, we're not going to get it. This is all what kills our miracles. This is all what we have learned. So what we need to do is unlearn what we learned so that we can actually learn something new, but also get awareness of how things actually work. Kind of like the plants know, and the animals know, and the trees know, and the entire earth knows, and the entire universe knows. It's just we stupid two-legged people that don't seem to get it. But guess what? We're making progress. Things are easier now as far as getting to a different space and place of possibilities and miracles than they've ever been before. So consider yourself warmly invited to go on this miraculous journey of finding out how miraculous you truly are by not trying to control how it shows up. I hope you'll do a couple of these exercises, and if not, maybe just watch this video a few more times and get a sense of the energetics that I'm talking about, because this entire universe functions on energy. And I don't know about you, but when I first heard about energy many years ago, I was like, oh, a bunch of airy-fairy weirdos who were like, I will do. And what I realized is energy is part of everything, and we can access it by getting out of our head as the primary source. You still use your awareness, but it's not from the judgment that everybody else does. It's from the willingness to receive something different that this beautiful world in which we live can offer and can provide. So, if you're ready for a truly miraculous journey, let's do this thing together. I want you to know you are not alone. You are not the only one of your kind, although you may kind of be the only one of your kind, which means you're a unique creature who has unique capacities that when you add it to the mix of what all of us are choosing, what all of us are desired to create as the world, what all of us are contributing and creating, creates a greater possibility for all of us. In closing, I just want to say you are not wrong, my beautiful friends. You are a gift, the likes of which this world has never seen. And you accessing your miraculous capacities is one of the gifts that you offer us all. And if any of what I've said makes you lighter, remember, what's true always makes you lighter and a lie makes you heavier. So let's explore this journey together. Let's go and be miraculous together. And let's get all the shit out of the way that doesn't allow it, because here it is. Are we going to choose it or not? The door is open in a way it never has been before. So consider yourself warmly invited. Let us play. And what if you, truly being you, with the sense of gratitude and the miraculousness of every moment, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires. Thank you so much for watching. I am very grateful, and I very much look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye!